Alright, so this is going to be kind of a quick tutorial for my game Mech Showdown. Now, I have this set up so that we can jump right into the action. What's going to happen, and I actually have this set up so that people who are new to print and play games can do this relatively easy. These are the only double-sided cards, and you can actually cut and fold them, and they will work. Whether you want to glue them, use a paper clip, doesn't matter because these things are never shuffled, so that part doesn't matter. If this is your very first game, using balanced versus balanced, so everyone kind of has a nice flat playing field, that might be something worth looking into. I recommend it, but if it feels like you want to be a little more invested, we can do that. Mechs have three values, well, besides the name. You have your initiative, your slot count, and your structure value. Think of this as your hit points. Now, for comparison, as you can see, balanced have no inherent abilities. They're just, as the title says, they're balanced. Of the 5 designs, they go third. They are just meant to be the average, mech. When you draft, you are basically when you pick one of these, you are basically saying, I want to go for here, first in the draft, first in play for the game. These have been extensively tested. There is balance to it. The example here is, okay, 8 slots, 6 health, and an ability. Well, that doesn't seem exactly all that much better than this guy. There we go, the balanced. The balanced is going to give you 2 extra slots. That does not seem like a lot, but when you see how this game is played, 2 extra slots can be a world of difference in basically going second regardless. So if someone picks Gunner, you can pick whatever you want. The Titan going 5th or last, 8 health, which obviously ties. Sorry, doesn't say ties. It is always better than the balanced. It is the highest, hit value. 10 slots, but you do give your opponent 1 action. This is balanced because it takes a lot of beating to get through 8 points before some of these guys, for example, like speed, to get through 4 points. So now we've talked about kind of how these things work. The slot value is how much equipment you can hold. These are your other cards. They have basically a size value, the slot value. This one takes 1 slot, 2, 3. On some of the builds, you'll see this one has a value of 5. There we go, autofocus. So sometimes the more impressive equipment takes more slots. Every single piece of equipment and weapons can go on every unit. However, a size 5 on a speed unit is going to leave you with next to nothing, but it can be done. I'm not denying anyone equipment. There is one out here, right here, the mask, that can only go on speed, but if you are familiar with any of the lore, it really was only going to be used on speed. So anyway, let's set that up. I'll kind of show you how it's played, and I'll explain how the equipment and everything works as we go, and you'll see why some of these choices were made the way they are. So we drafted, we did all of our stuff, our mechs are set up and ready to go. The third unit is simply set out of play. We set ourselves to our structure value, and you'll see how this goes. On each player's turn, you are given 2 actions. This one has 2 actions on their own turn. This one has 2 actions on this one's turn as well. But you can only fire on your own turn. There is one card that lets you do that, but whatever. So, example, this guy's going to go first because he has initiative 2. Sorry, initiative 2nd, technically, which is higher than the 5th here. So this one's going to go first every time. It wants to use one of its actions to fire, so I will do that. These weapons have an exhaust, which is basically to show that they're reloading, to show that if they're an energy weapon, they're cooling down. So this one's going to go to exhaust. Now, I'm firing a value 3. I'll bring the card over here. An attack value of 3. If we can focus. There we go. An attack value of 3, which means the defender, this Titan, has to roll greater than 3. Not greater than or equal to, greater than 3. Should not be all that hard. So, Titan's going to roll. They rolled a 4. They're still alive. Okay. So, then I can play any other actions. I think I will. All the undrafted equipment and weapons for the rest of the game are turned back to what we call the tactics side. Here's the pile, here's the hand for the Titan. I'm going to use this one here for my second action. Reload 1 weapon, reload 1 level of a weapon, then fire it immediately, your turn only. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to slide these things so they're in frame. Normally I wouldn't be playing game this tight, but yes, as you can hear my kids in the background. So I'm going to reload this and then fire it immediately again. Titan has to roll. They survived. Okay, so those are my 2 actions. Now, my ability for the speed says draw after playing a tactic. So I'm simply reloaded. So my hand is always here. You do not draw automatically in this game. You would have to use an action. I do have a handy little reference card that I can show. There we go. There we go, focus. So your actions are firing a weapon, reloading 1 level of exhaust, draw a tactics card, or play a tactics card. Now, this means that of my 2 actions on this one's turn, my speed could draw cards, it can reload weapons, things go from there. So I'm going to take my 3 cards, set them here. Goes the Titan's turn. They've taken no damage so far. Look at their hand. Gain 2 actions, pretty good. Prevent 1 damage. If I'm a Titan, I can prevent 2 damage. Discard 1 other card to add to defense. So these are all good. You know what? I'm going to use one of my 2 actions, play this to gain 2 actions. So I've got a total of 3 actions right now. First action, I'm going to use my Gauss rifle. So I'm going to bring that over to here. It was a slot 5, so usually only carried by the heavier units. Attack value of 5, exhaust of 2. If the opponent rolls a 1, it deals 2 damage instead of 1. So I have to exhaust it twice. You see it's got a double line exposure. Defense from this guy. Now, since I am the speed unit, I'm going to use this for +2 defense. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to draw back immediately. This doesn't take place just on your turns, all turns. So I have +2, which means that this value of 5, I'm going to be rolling +2 on that. So let's roll. Do I want to play a second card? You know what? Just for sake of discussion, I am going to play a second card. Now, obviously, that means with so few cards, because there's so many here, that we're going to be shuffling up a lot. There's nothing wrong with that, but it happens. So I'm basically +4 against this weapon. And then I redraw that card for speed. It's a good thing I did that, because +4 means it's a 6. I survived the shot here, so I'm still fine. This guy still has 2 more, actions left. I don't need to prevent damage. I don't need to up my defense. I am going to probably fire again. So I'm going to use this, exhaust this one once, to attack for 3. This guy, he's used up both of his actions, so he just has to take it on. Rolls a 2. Going to take a point of damage. Dink from 4 to 3. That can, again, it can go very quickly. Now I still have 1 more action over here. I'm going to use one of it. Actually, sorry. I actually am going to use this quick draw system. Let me bring this out. So this is equipment. I can exhaust this. It does not use an action to reload 1 level of a weapon. So I'm going to do that. So I show my exhaust band here, my exhaust band here. I'm going to unexhaust 1 level. Then I'm going to use my last action to reload my Gauss rifle. I'm going to be relying heavily on that weapon. I have 2 cards in hand on Titan. Past my turn. They use both actions on this turn, so we're going to move on. Back to turn 2. Let me get my focus here. Speed, turn 2. This weapon has an auto reload. What you're going to see what that does. It's actually a really nice feature, obviously. It's here. Goes to your turn. I do not need to spend an action. It simply reloads itself. You'll see it on the MRMs and then the machine gun anti-missile system. It's just part of the balancing. So, what do I want to do? Well, I want to use one action to... So I'm going to use my NARC for one of my 2 actions. NARC says, use before firing, missile type only. Now, MRM is medium range missile. This will work on SRM, MRM, LRM, because those are small, short, medium, and long range missiles. So I'm exhausting. I'm going to choose +1 value, because right now I don't need damage. I need the ability to actually hit something. So here's where we are. I'm only exhausting this. I have 1 action left. I'm going to use that to fire this guy at value 4. So the Titan needs to roll a 5 or a 6. With the high armor and the plate, they're willing to risk it. They rolled a 1. Unless it says otherwise, weapons are only going to deal 1. Now, this Titan, which is, as you can imagine, it's called Titan for a reason. It carries, this one is carrying plate armor as 3 of their slots. So the first 3 damage are going to go on this card since this is the Titan. Normally it would be 2, the Titan gets a 3rd slot. So this guy has 11 hit points, which, as I said, can really slow you down. So, first damage goes there. They've used both actions. Here we are, Titan. I'm going to use 1 to reload, and then I'll use 1 to draw, because I've got nothing really better to do. Goes the Titan's turn. We're going to keep going back and forth until someone basically explodes. Oh, sorry, totally forgot. The Titan gives this guy a 3rd one. I probably would have used it to play another card. For this one, probably for +1 value, just to try and get the hit level up. Anyway, that one, the ability from Titan definitely needs to be reminded. So if you're playing against the Titan, make sure you remind your opponent, or your opponent gets their extra action. This is basically a passion project. I played Mech Warrior when I was younger. I fell in love with it. Played, the Mech Warrior miniatures game. A lot of research has gone into what would be time period appropriate. Obviously, I'm not using any names that are going to get me in any trouble. Like, you can't trademark something called an extended range laser, kind of what it does. But you'll see here some things have, that's the energy symbol, and this thing has the ballistic symbol, that's a munition. The only reason right now that really matters is if you're playing the gunner, it has the ability to ditch ballistic weapons to fire at a higher value. Everything said and done, it's meant to be a quick game. As you can see, things like the Titan with its 10 slots, it has the option of using a lot of cards, or it can dual wield some really powerful ones like an autocannon and, say, the Gauss rifle. If you want to go truly heavy weapons, that's going to be your 10 slots right there. You'll just have to manage your firing, but firing with attack value 4 and an attack value 5, you're probably going to take someone down in relatively short order, but you are going to be relying very heavily on your health. I feel that this gives a somewhat accurate representation of what will be happening, and most of the numbers that have been changed for balancing issues. There are 1 or 2, like for example the short-range missiles. They do have a low attack, an average of 3, but they do deal 2 damage. So that's definitely something to look into. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I will absolutely get back to you as soon as possible. I hope this helps. I hope you enjoy this. I'm just looking to kind of take drafting, my love of mechs, and straight up 2-player combat. And every time we've tested it, we're done in about 15 minutes. It's been tested, this time probably over 20 times to try and get the values right. Anything that seems unbalanced usually just means you need to approach it from a different angle. The only reason I'm saying that is the speed unit, you really have to use its ability to keep playing tactics cards. You need to have a tight hand. You need to keep playing cards to keep your defenses up and just run around and ping at guys. The Titan just meant to slog it out. It's supposed to be taking hits and dealing it out just as fast. The gunner using the ballistics, that's usually last-ditch effort, but if you take a few multiple ballistics, like a couple of different missiles or whatever, you can probably get most guys other than Titan down very quickly. And the stealth, I probably should address this. Every defense roll, every roll is +1. They're just harder to hit. They would be carrying what's called ECM, Electronic Countermeasure Package. It just makes them harder to hit. That's all it really is. So hopefully this helps.